Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So for those of you that are in the UK or abroad and you know who Tommy Robinson is, fantastic. You know that I've made several videos about him now and you know my stance on the man. I think that he is a brilliant individual and he's going to bring about a great deal of change, I hope, to the UK. That is, unless God forbid something happens to Tommy Robinson, and I hope that it doesn't. But because the government hates Tommy, the mainstream media hates Tommy. Why? Because of the things that he stands for. He stands for everything that is good in the UK, and thousands, if not millions of people in the UK stand with Tommy Robinson. I mean, I've been seeing the comments in my videos. So many people are supportive of Tommy, and mate, I think that is a brilliant thing. I really do. Now, on the other hand, you have all these politicians that don't like Tommy Robinson because they really do hate everything good. There's so much corruption in the UK government, as there is in America, as there is in Australia at the moment, that unfortunately the ones with the incredible amounts of power get away scot-free usually with taking down those people they don't like. And the ones that actually speak up and speak loud, the actual truth, and people follow them, the problem is those ones are arrested, charged, and they're more than likely gotten rid of. That's been happening all throughout history. It's not just happening with Tommy Robinson, but there's a trend. You know, you go throughout history, it happened in ancient history with people that would stand up to the government, that would stand up to oppressors. And you know what happened to them? They were either crucified, thrown to the lions, killed in some way, shape, or form. You know, it always goes, if you are for something that you know to be true and is the actual truth, and you're going against corruption, the likelihood of you being taken out and taken down is quite high. Just the way it goes, unfortunately, because corruption doesn't like being stopped. And the ones that aren't corrupt and the ones that are good people like Tommy Robinson that want that corruption stamped out so that goodness can flow back in, those people need to be protected at all costs. Now, we have the likes of Nigel Farage. Look, many of you may know who Nigel Farage is. He's from the Reform UK party. I think he got into parliament recently during the elections, although Keir Starmer won in a landslide because, you know, that was bound to happen. Look, I listened to Nigel Farage on Jordan Peterson just before the elections took place, and I like some of the things that he had to say, and not everything, but I like some of the things that he had to say. He had a lot of, I guess, good policies that are in line with some of the things that I like. Not everything, obviously. And he has had a bit of a tiff, I guess you could call it, between Tommy Robinson. He's trying to distance himself from Tommy. Initially, I think it was quite close between the two of them, but now he's distancing himself from him. And now Nigel is throwing Tommy Robinson under the bus and saying that he was the one that incited the Southport murder, riots, all this sort of other nonsense that's going on. I don't think it is a good thing at all to throw people under the bus just because you want to look to be good or anything like that. It's not a good character trait of yours to throw another person that is trying to do good under the bus. That just goes to show you how much character you've got. And to me, seeing it, it makes me not like you that much, because I look at a person's character first and foremost. I look at what they've said. I look at their actions. And if it doesn't align, sorry, I'm not going to really follow you or agree with you anymore. It's just the way it works, for me at least. But Tommy posted this video of Nigel Farage throwing him under a bus yet again. Seems like Nigel has done this quite a few times of late. But you did actually pump the fake news that the Southport murderer was a Muslim, not me. I actually checked my sources. You're just a Tory establishment in a different color ribbon. You think you're above us. You're not. I think once you get into politics, the likelihood of you actually being good for a period of time, I wonder about. I really do wonder. Like when you're establishment, and look, I know there's a whole argument about establishment and who's actually the establishment, who's the one that controls it, et cetera, et cetera. It is a rather interesting question, if you ask me, because I would love to know who are the ones responsible. I know in America, there's some big players, Nancy Pelosi. You've got a lot of members in the Democratic Party. They've got quite a bit of money behind them. Alex Soros, for example, and George Soros, so many others. But like whether or not there's this giant cabal, I'm not a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, but I do like looking at them and saying, all right, is there some element of truth to this or not? And if I can't find any element of truth, then so be it. Like move on to finding where the truth actually is. That is the point of, looking at both sides of the argument. Now, whether or not I don't know Nigel Farage's heart or mind, but to me, it doesn't reveal anything good about you when you just throw a decent human under the bus like you are. So have a watch of Nigel Farage throwing Tommy Robinson under the bus. I think a lot of people seemingly support Tommy more than they support Nigel. But anyway, have a watch.
And that's as a result of the riots and left and right commentators, Conservatives, Labour, saying that I was inciting the riots, as if somehow, I was linked with the Tommy Robinson wing of politics. And I genuinely believe in my case that what's been said by some national broadcasters literally is insightful. Well, here, it's a whole lot worse than that.
In Britain, we've heard endless talk of the threat from the far right. Do you think that the elites understand that actually the threat from the far left is building and is serious?
No, I don't think they do fully. I think what they do understand, and electorally Labour are now terrified of many of the inner cities. Remember, Wes Streeting only held his seat against, a pro-Gaza candidate by simply a few hundred votes. I think they're aware of that threat, electoral threat to them, the sort of the sectarianisation of politics. But I don't think they understand some of the real hatreds that are building up on the left towards anybody who expresses even a vaguely conservative view. Now, look, we talk about the threat from the far right. Of course, it exists. We know there are people out there that love violence, but I don't think. I honestly don't believe the far right's very big in Britain. I don't think most of those people out on demonstrations were members of the far right. They were just enraged people who are really, really worried about what's happening in our towns and cities.
So he starts off by saying, blames the left and the right, not himself. Can't blame yourself and own up to what you said, but you can blame the likes of Tommy Robinson and Tommy's party. And even though that party is not actually functioning today, which is interesting to me, Tommy disbanded it. He left a long time ago. So yeah, that's interesting to me. But nevertheless, Nigel doesn't want to at least be honest and say, hey, I was responsible for inciting X, Y, and Z. I'm washing my hands clean. And that to me is another character flaw, if you ask me. Now, he does raise a good point when he says that there are people out there on the left and on the right, which I actually agree with, that are relatively crazy and will do crazy things. Like I'm not a person that goes, I'm naive. I don't know whether I'm all for the far right. I think the far right is holy, all that sort of stuff. I'm not that sort of person. I know that I harp on the far left all the time because they are honestly crazy, insane dingbats and they need to be stopped. But I also will say the far right are just as crazy and need to be stopped all the same. I don't think far right, far left are good things at all. I think you need to become somewhat of an independent thinker, first and foremost, You need to look at both sides of the aisle and come up with what you agree with and what you don't agree with. And me, I fall more into the conservative field than I do in the more liberal field, although I understand some of the liberal thoughts. And it's like, you know, it's not like I can't agree on a liberal person and what they think and what they say. It just means that you need to come up with a better argument. And I think that's part of living in a healthy, functioning society. But unfortunately, these days, that's going down the toilet, down the drain rather quickly. And it doesn't help when you have people like Nigel Farage that throws the likes of Tommy Robinson under the bus when Tommy is being attacked quite considerably for no reason whatsoever. Because he stands for the truth, he's getting attacked. Now, if Tommy Robinson says something that I don't agree with, or if he does something that, again, is wrong, I will call it out. I'll be one of the first ones to call it out. But personally, I have not seen anything that Tommy has done that I find that I disagree with, or I find that is against his good character, or that I see as being a problem. All I am seeing currently is Tommy trying to do right by the UK citizens, and a lot of the UK citizens are all for him. When you got the likes of politicians such as Nigel Farage, who actually is a politician now, again, it's concerning. Once you become a politician, it's like, wow, you go down quite considerably fast. Why is that? Because of corruption. It gets in and it corrupts. That's what it does. Probably a reason why Tommy Robinson left the political party that he was affiliated with some time ago. But anyway, it just doesn't help. I think instead of fighting each other and throwing people under the bus, maybe it would be worthwhile to actually stand for the truth and come together and say, look, we may disagree, but we can find a common ground here and let's support one another for the good of the UK citizens, the good of the economy. Let's move forward. But no, can't do that. Let's just attack. That to me is insane. It really, really is. And no, I'm not considering a career in politics. I hate politics with a passion. Even if I was to be a politician, like I'd try and do right. I'd try and be good, but it's like you got one right and one good person being drowned out by all the bad. But doesn't mean that I don't think Christians should still be in government and have an influence. I'm glad that there are still, but I think I can do more good on this show than actually in an office somewhere. Plus, I think I go mad. Anyway, that's enough from me, ladies and gentlemen. You guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.